Hey everybody, while you were gone I built us an equipment screen. We got a little portrait of our character and we got 4 spots we can equip stuff in. Yay! Each of these 4 spots is an inventory item display. The inventory item displays here are exactly the same as the ones in the inventory display. So the inventory display is not the only place you can use the inventory item display. Places where you have an inventory item, but you know exactly how many you've got and you have a specific slots, you can just use those inventory items. So we don't have like an inventory display here. We don't need one because we don't have a list of arbitrary amounts of stuff in our inventory. We've got 4 specific slots. So we just have something that knows those 4 specific slots and we program in those 4 specific slots and we don't worry about fold-out lists or any of that nonsense. So we've got these inventory item displays that are not part of any inventory display. That's important because you can use the pieces as well as the whole. Every part of this can be reused in some way to make it a lot easier on you. So if you were programming this game from scratch and you didn't really think about how to do this, you might be like creating custom code here and being like, well, the helmet needs to be wired in this way and I need to be able to display the helmet, so I need to write special code in the equipment screen that will manage the helmet display stuff. No, just put in an inventory item display. It's exactly like an inventory item in an inventory, except it's not in an inventory. The benefits of doing it this way. But they were blank. Moreover, not only were they blank, they actually throw errors when we click on them. That's because so far we've been assuming that an inventory item display will always have an inventory item in it. What do I mean? Well, let's go ahead and pop it open and take a look. Down here we say, clicked on item.displayname. Well, if there's no item, what happens? This happens, obviously. You can't call a method or a property of null that they don't exist. It's like, it's just nonsense. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create a null proof version of this. Checking for nulls is an extremely common thing. Get used to doing it. Call it empty, and I'll call it nothing. So we say if item does not equal null, then displayname equals item.displayname. See? And then here we just change this to displayname. By creating a local variable called displayname, we can set it equal to item.displayname or something else if item.displayname doesn't exist. So now if we hit play, no problem. But nobody is listening to nothing. I deleted the listener. If we hadn't deleted the listener, we would have the exact same problem on the listener's side, and we'd have to do it again. But that listener was just an example, so there's no reason to go through that. But there's nothing in these items. We need to go ahead and create our hero's equipment. How do we do that? Well, I've created 2 new classes. We've got the hero class and we've got the equipment screen class. So we've got this inventory and this inventory display. Well, the hero and the equipment screen are the exact same thing. The hero is a data class. This keeps track of the hero's hit points and equipment and all that jazz. But it doesn't know how to display any of that. The equipment screen, you can pass it to any old hero. It doesn't care whose hero it's getting. And it will happily display all that stuff, but it doesn't understand any of it. So we're going to need the public inventory item helmet, armor, weapon, offhand. Right? And then over here in the equipment screen, we're going to need public inventory item display, helmet, armor, weapon, offhand. And we're also going to need public hero. Right? So this should look pretty familiar. What we have here is a hero with items and then an equipment screen that can have item displays. So here is our data, here is our display, and the display can take any hero. Similarly, any hero can use any display, so we could create a different kind of equipment screen later on that does things differently, and it would just adjust perfectly, instantly, no problems. So let's go ahead and set these up in the game world. So here is our equipment screen. We'll drag the helmet on, drag the armor on, drag the weapon on, drag the offhand on, drag the hero on. Here is our hero. Our hero has an inventory right now. We're going to go ahead and disable that. We don't want the inventory popping up, so we'll just disable it. We could delete it, but I might have a use for it later, so we'll leave it. We just disable it. There's nothing in here. All right, well, let's put some stuff in there. How about a bracelet on the offhand, a sword. Oop, that didn't work. Sword on the sword hand, armor on the armor hand. How about beer as a helmet? Easy enough, right? Nothing worked. Why didn't anything work? Well, we told it that those exist, but we didn't tell it how to do anything with any of them. So what we need to do is we need to build here in the equipment screen, we need to build a prime. Void prime. Now this should be familiar to you because we have built a prime on every display class. See? Prime. Prime. Same thing. You can name it whatever you'd like. I use prime because it's not a value that's taken. You know, a lot of functions are reserved. So here we're going to say this.hero equals hero. And now what we're going to do is we're going to prime all of our inventory item displays. So we had a problem with null values earlier, and you might remember that our inventory item display, we check. If the text name is not null, then make the text equal this. That's so that we can change it out later and we can have values that don't have text or values that don't have images. That's good practice, so we're going to keep doing that over here in the equipment screen. We're going to say if helmet does not equal null, helmet dot prime hero dot helmet. I don't know why I keep putting an R there. Bink, bink, bink. There we are. So now, when we pass it this hero, when we say prime it, please, it'll say, okay, I'll set my hero equal to that hero, and then I'll initialize all of my displays with that hero's information. I don't care who the hero is, I don't care what those things are, I just pass them on. And because the inventory item display knows what to do with those, that's fine. Who cares, right? But we haven't actually told it to prime. There's nothing hooked up to prime. We could create a button where we clicked on it, it would prime it. But in this case, the easiest thing to do is just say if hero does not equal null, prime hero. And that means that when we hit play, it'll check and see whether or not hero has been defined, and if it has, it'll automatically prime it. And that's just a fast way to do debug. So we got our hero set up, we got our stuff set up, hit play. Bonk. Poof! Perfect. And very clickable. Although nobody is listening to armor, and nobody is listening to sword. Nobody is listening. How do we make them listen? Well, we'll make them listen some other day. For now, this is as far as we're going to go, but I hope that this has been informative. You really can use these objects that we've created in a lot of different places, and in this case, we're using those inventory item displays outside of the inventory.